さ、昨日のことだよね。つみちゃんがしつこかったからとかじゃなくて、俺が夜遊びしてるとかって話をちょっとでも真に受けたりしたのかなって。
違うよ、それは。
こんな大げさな仲直りって小学生ぶりで。いいね、たまには。
Alright, so during last week's episode, I talked about how I truly believe that 𝐒𝐿𝐴 Loafer is a masterpiece, and episode number 6 has proven that even more. Now, I know that when I said that initially, a lot of you didn't agree, and I just want to make something very clear. I'm sure you know already, but just in case. When I say something is a masterpiece, I really only mean that to me, right? Like, an opinion and how somebody feels towards a piece of media, whether it be a movie, a video game, a piece of art, music, it's all very subjective, right? And when I come on here, I simply offer my opinion. And for those who enjoy my content, for the most part, I think that people are in two camps for when they enjoy my content. Either they vibe with me in a way that they feel that my tastes are similar to theirs or similar to yours, and that's why you watch my content, is because you're interested in my opinion towards something to see if you align with it, or if you've historically been aligned with my opinion. You're like, okay, this guy's opinion towards this specific episode, for this specific anime is like mine. The other person who watched my content, all assumptions, but I assume, is on the opposite side of how they feel. Like, they don't agree with anything I say, and that's why they watch my content, because they're like, they just want to see on how far apart we are on episodes, on anime, on everything else. And I think both of those camps are really interesting, and that's why I watch content myself, is I really enjoy watching somebody who my opinion doesn't align with at all, to see on how the opposite camp kind of, is enjoying anime or a video game or something, which is typically the type of content that I consume. And the other person, obviously, like I said, is the ones that I do align with. Come like, okay, well, if person A liked it, I'll like it too, and stuff like that. So, that's, again, just operate under assumptions. But regardless, I think 𝐒𝐿𝐴 Loafer is a masterpiece to me. And what I would ask you guys, especially for those who are coming in for the first time, is I would challenge you to find a better romance genre anime that depicts young adults, young teenagers, in such a light that's realistic. Typically, we get anime that isn't really realistic, right? And, like, the one that always comes into my mind is Toradora. And I think that's the one that's always hailed as a masterpiece. But in reality, like, a lot of the ways that they handle situations and things like that is just not really realistic. I think the most realistic anime that we've gotten prior to 𝐒𝐿𝐴 Loafer on how the complexities of being young and not being able to figure out social cues, romance cues, another person's cues, has been Horimiya. A lighter one to that, maybe some could argue, or 𝐼𝐻, or my teen romantic snafu, but that one, even there, it's a little too fictional. But there are times or instances where it does tend to lean towards one way. And what I mean by that is, like, the complexities of being young is really hard to capture and really hard to write really well. And I think, like, certain things you kind of had to have lived through for it to really go pen to paper, and for a person to really be able to capture and write something in a realistic way. What I mean by that is, in this episode specifically, there's two specific things. One, Meatsumi's friend, Fumi, has told Meatsumi that she fell in love, okay? And that's awesome for her. But when she's describing it to her, she's like, when I'm around that person, I want to run away. When I'm around them, I don't know what to say. I stumble. I find myself looking at them a lot. If they look at me, I break eye contact. I get hot. I get flustered. Like, these are all the things that, when you're dealing with it, especially for the first time, or, like the second time, whatever. But when it's you're very young and you're dealing with these kinds of feelings, it's really cool. And I love how they depict it as Meatsumi being like, what do you mean? What is that? How is love? What is, describe it to me. And what she's trying to do there is compare her own feelings or instances of times that she's had with multiple people. She's trying to think through her mind, have I ever felt like that in any way? And that comes to bite her in the ass later on in the episode when she's talking to 𝐒𝐮𝐻, and she begins to feel hot and stuttery, and like she's like, what is this? I want to run away from this guy right now. She's like, ah, shit, Fumi. And that's why at the end of the episode she calls Fumi and be like, friendships can be like this too, and because she's trying to like, you know, push it like, oh, I don't have feelings for him, you know. And I was like, wow, that's so good. You know, the rest of the episode we had Meatsumi and 𝐒𝐮𝐻 getting into a fight, right? And the whole time, you know, it depicts Meatsumi in such a realistic way, right? Like, a lot of times that we do things in life, we do it subconsciously. And she was subconsciously stressing about 𝐒𝐮𝐻. She's like, why is he not here? Is he not really sick? You know, like, you know, is he never going to come back? What would life be like without? She's like, you know, all these, this is what we do is like, we, as humans, we implode into our own thoughts of like worst case scenarios. And of course, you know, he comes back to school and he shows up, but then she's still mad at him because what ends up happening a lot, and my wife does this all the time. She's not going to watch this video, so I could talk crap about her. She does this all the time. She'll be like, she'll get mad about the way she felt towards something that isn't real, but I still have to take the brunt of that anger even though I didn't do anything, right? That's like, you know, the common thing that ends up happening, especially in relationships a lot, is like the one partner ends up dreaming that the other partner did something, and then they hold that against them for like the rest of the day or something. It's like, yo, I didn't do anything. It's not my fault that you dreamed that I went to go to the club or something crazy, whatever, you know, whatever they drummed up in their mind, right? So I love that. And then when they end up talking, right, like all of that, again, all of that subconscious frustration begins to word vomit out. And he's trying to tell her, like, you know, I don't really care about this. She's like, you need to care. He's like, I don't, like, you need to. It doesn't matter to me. And she doesn't quite know on how to absorb that. She doesn't quite know how to respond to that. She doesn't quite know, like, what that really means. And I have an Uber coming. I got some food, you know, Papa gonna eat. But she doesn't quite know how to handle that. And that is realistic writing, right? We've all been in some kind of situation to where, like, you feel like you're coming from a place of care and passion and right. But then the other person responds in a way to where, like, you're like, what the hell do I do with that? And, like, in her case, she got embarrassed and she ran away. And, you know, after that, she was stressing about that situation nonstop. And reciprocally, you know, 𝐒𝐮𝐻 was also kind of stressing about that. He's like, I think I hurt her feelings. I don't know what to say. So when they meet each other again and they finally talk, you know, he finally opens up to her because she opened up to him, right? She was like, I'm very sorry. She was like, I just think school would be awful without you here. Basically saying, like, come to school because I just enjoy being around you. You know, that's what she was saying. And she got the words out. And I was like, I was so proud of her because, like, that's a lot. You know, again, you have to put yourself back in those, you know, you might be in those shoes today, but for those who are old like me, you have to put yourself back in those shoes when you were, like, you know, 15 years old. You know, it's what she did took a lot of courage to say to somebody, you know, even if you're used to being upfront and forward, it still takes a lot of courage to say to someone like, you know, I'm worried because without you here, like, life just kind of sucks more. And that's like a big thing to say. And because of that, he opened up to Meatsumi, and he was like, no, like, my family just never been around. No one ever cared what I did. So I'm able to just kind of do whatever I want. And he was like, but don't think that I'm like some slacker. Like, I go to night school and I'd go to this and that and blah, blah, blah. So he opened up to her, right? And he made up with her. And even he begins to laugh. It's like, I never made up with someone like this before. He basically has never opened himself up to somebody like this since elementary. And I just think that it was just such a special moment and refreshing between them. And these are the moments that I say, like, this is why I think this is a masterpiece, because, like, this is writing that is capturing the essence of what it means to be that age and to stumble and figure things out and to find out cues. And it's such a pleasure to watch. And it's just so, so good. Also, I was hilariously laughing when Meatsumi dreamed of 𝐒𝐮𝐻 being like, you know, a Yakuza thug, you know, thug delinquent type character. And I just thought that was hilarious. let me know what you thought about episode 6. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for sitting through all of my thoughts. If you made it this far, you better hit me with the like. You go come back. But I'll see you guys next week for episode 7.